Okay, do you see the quad chart?
Not yet. Still playing. Oh,
Oh,
there it is. Got it now. Yeah.
okay. It's hard for me to see what you're seeing, but anyway, so hi. I just have one slide, which is the quad chart, which is in Dan's deck. And I wanted to say, oh, let's see, you still see the quad chart, right? I moved it.
Yep. Yep. We got it.
Okay. I wanted to say sort of three things. There's three parts to this project that are sort of shown in the graphic and also in the top three bullets on the right. First, we are planning to observe NetFlow data in Merit's network. And I'm sorry, I should have said, I'm John Heideman at University of Southern California. This is joint work with Pirette Dag at Merit. So we're planning to collect data from their operational network, NetFlow data, anonymize it. And so the first thing that will sort of spin off are data sets from that that can be shared with the research community. And our particular focus is looking at IPv6 in this data, although we will also observe IPv4 as a way to calibrate what we see. The second step of our work is to use that data to detect routing problems, specifically outages in parts of the network, and also partial reachability or peninsulas, cases where some people can talk to some people and other people can't talk to others. And this is of particular interest in IPv6 because of the long-running um, peering disputes between Cogent and Hurricane Electric, which mean there are some people in IPv6 land that literally cannot see the whole network because their provider or the person they're talking to has this dispute. And so our goal is to be able to detect that kind of problem and understand how big that challenge is. The third thing in our work is to provide this data to the operational community, and particularly operators in um, Merit, but also more broadly the whole operational community in the long run, to allow them to make routing choices. And so if you see you have a persistent routing problem with part of the IPv6 network, you might take steps to alleviate that problem. And if you see transient problems, you also want to be able to detect that and react appropriately. So that's the core idea that we have. Um, so if you think about this, if you walk down those three parts, there's sort of three big challenges. In the data collection side, we have to deal with anonymization, and we're going to start with current best practices. Excuse me, things like CryptoPan and not capturing payloads. Excuse me. Um, but there's a real potential, I think, to do better, especially in the IPv6 land. That's out of scope of this project, but we definitely want to keep our eyes open for. The second challenge is dealing with high data rates. We already heard some of that talking about uh, data capture rates in some of the other projects, and we have those challenges too. Um, so the third challenge is I mean, obviously there's a research challenge in taking passive observations and getting reliable detections of network problems. That's something we've been working on for a while. And then the final real challenge here is how do we is the results or the alerts that we generate consistent enough that operational people will engage with them. If there's too many alerts, they will tune out because you're wasting their time. And of course, if you miss stuff, they will be disappointed. And so we want to find the sweet spot in terms of getting a good result there. And I guess the final challenge is, I guess, due to budget cutbacks, we're trying to do a 3-year project in 2 years. So we'll see how far we can go. Um, and then the final thing before I open to questions, I just want to be clear our expected outcomes. So we hope to have IPv6 NetFlow data that is anonymized but still useful for research that we can share with the community. We hope to have or plan to have observations about network outages in both v4 and v6. We've had good luck sharing our v4 data with the community in the past, and we plan to continue that. And I said outages, but I should have said outages and partial reachability, because partial reachability, I think, is a growing challenge that we need to take seriously, especially in IPv6. And finally, the final outcome or way to judge the success of our project will be to judge if we have operational impact on operational use. And we'll know better in a year from now. But that is our hope. Um, so with that, let me stop screen sharing and open up to questions.
Excellent. Thanks, John. So from my standpoint, some exciting things here that also tie into some of the, the OSDF NDP kind of issues is I think this is a data set that will be, this kind of data will be interesting. I see three big uses, and there's probably a lot more that John can say, but
Sure.
one is network researchers themselves. I think just seeing that data can be used for a lot of interesting stuff. And so having access to that, I think John's already seen that with the V4 data, right? And
Mhm.
so one, I think you've got this group of network researchers that will be very interested in the data set. Two is there's a, similar to the previous presentation about the root beer, right? There's a real-time operational issue here, right? Which is, I think we'll also see a lot of real, like, hey, I have an outage now, and it's not that I want to write an IMC paper about it, but
Yeah.
I would like to fix it before, before Friday. Uh, and the third group that I think comes in here that, John, I think you've seen before is I suspect in addition to the network researchers, we're going to get an interesting collection of policy people,
Mhm.
FCC and other folks. So I think this will be data sets that won't just be people who can say like, yeah, I know what a net flow thing is, or, I'm looking for give me a PCAP. They'll be like, I don't know what a PCAP or a net flow is, but I know what an outage is. And so that'll make some interesting challenges.
Yeah, thanks. I think all three of those are good observations. We've had some luck with that in the past, especially in the IPv4 space. And I hope we'll be able to have continued luck with that in the IPv6 space as well. And you mentioned policy people. The other cross-disciplinary work I think we need to look for is there are all sorts of people doing, I don't want to call it just social sciences, but, economics and trying to see how internet effects carry into other disciplines. And so we've had some luck with our longitudinal outage data, sharing that with people in other disciplines who do large cross-domain correlation studies. And I hope we can continue to do that in the V6 space. So thanks, Dan.
So from an OSDF perspective, it will be useful to better understand the access pattern that you
Uh-huh.
currently entertain, and what will success look like, and do we need anything to do to address potential future access patterns that go beyond what you are supporting today, and whether it's automated access. For example, policy decision, do I come and fetch data every 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever? That can change the service that you have to provide. And if OSDF becomes part of the story, we need to understand what should we think about the patterns that we should support.
Sure. And so historically, our data has primarily been accessed by download, bulk download, and we distribute data sets usually in quarter-long periods. So, and that data set would be, it can be as big as a terabyte for a quarter, right? So not trivial sizes. The other thing is the bulk data tends to go to researchers, so it's not like we have a million users for that data. We have, a dozen to 100 would be a success. However, we also are working hard to get towards streaming. We currently put our data up in a website and update that, every 10 minutes, or update that streaming continuously. And so that's a website that you can come to. We have the capability to share streaming data with others as well. We haven't had researchers who have engaged with that thus far, because it requires a much, deeper commitment by the researchers' point
Right.
of view. But that is something we would like to support and
Yeah. So that's, John, where it may be useful to chat and to see these directions, as Dan said, if policymakers and we bring new users into the mix, the question is how well are we positioned to address the workload that they may generate on us.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I would love to have a workload that stresses my ability to fulfill it.
Oh, that I can generate for you tomorrow morning. I mean, Brian and I can generate 10,000 clients that are knocking at your door simultaneously within a second.
Sure. I would love to have an actual workload of actual users and not an artificial. I mean, yes, we all know how to.
I understand. So if you want us to stress test you, and it will be a pleasure.
I'm sorry. I would like actual users. So you could be one of those. I would love to have you as one of those. I don't need you to attack my site. I know how to attack my site.
I don't attack you. I help you realize
stress test it.
That
yes, I understand.
In any case, that I agree. But can we envision it and understand? I would say that from a system perspective, I would ask how well is your system protected from something like this? Not maliciously, but
the flash code
in our infrastructure.
The good success.
It's stupidity.
Oh.
Somebody writes a piece of software that reads your data,
right?
That suddenly decides to send it into the OS pool and run a job that each of them wants your data. It doesn't have to be malicious, but if your system doesn't have
that's very fair.
guards, then things will get ugly.
I think it was, so a lot of good stuff there. I'll just end with, I think it was Wisconsin that several years ago had an NTP server. It was not Wisconsin's fault, but had an NTP server that got a lot more non-malicious, but still bad attention than it should have. So yeah.
Oh yeah.